Alrighty, everybody. Steve here, and today, unfortunately, we are broaching another topic of the winner, Johnny Somali. For those of you who don't know, Johnny Somali is he's a very bad person. He has no moral compass. He's disgusting. He is a waste of genetic material. And unfortunately, he gets off on, he does Rumble, and then of course he's Facebook and things like that, or not Facebook, but YouTube. And he goes around and he assaults people, he issues threats, he commits minor crimes. And we're just scratching the surface of this guy because it is getting even worse. Now, for those of you who don't know, I'm Steve, the retired hobby guy, tech, who lives in Korea. I retired here, and so I kind of have an affinity for Korea because Koreans are nice and polite, they're hardworking, they're great people, and I just can't say anything bad about Koreans. But yeah, Johnny Somali is the exact opposite of me. He wants to start a race war. He's from Ethiopia. He thinks all Asians should be exterminated. All of them. Just, Chinese, Japanese, Koreans, anybody that's Asian, he thinks they should all be exterminated. And now he's arrested and possibly facing prison time here in Korea. We can only hope. Anyway, I wanted to go over some of the information because this guy is a scourge of society. And it's interesting because if you look back at what he does in his videos, which I'm surprised that YouTube even allows him on. So he's got a main channel, he's got a backup channel and something else. And we'll get into some other stuff that he's getting into with his channels. And then he also does Rumble, which is a streaming service, kind of like Twitch or whatever. But they haven't banned him for all the stuff that he does. And he's provocative, he provokes people to violence, he does violence. And unfortunately, no matter where he goes, he gets in trouble. So when he was in Israel, he got in trouble for doing the same thing. Assaulting people, sexual harassment, all of that stuff. Anyway, it ends up that apparently he got arrested in Israel and they kicked him out. Then he ended up going to Japan and he did the exact same thing. He, assaulted people in the whole 9 yards. It's just, the boy is an idiot and he has no scruples. He has no common sense. He has no moral compass. It's stuck on stupid. And he keeps doing the same things over and over. And people send him money. And YouTube allows him to do this, to continue. Of course, it ends up, YouTube's getting a lot of views through Johnny Somali, but what we're finding out here, by Johnny's own admission, that he wants a race war and he wants to instigate it. It is absolutely stupid and insane. I just can't believe it. Now, I did a previous video where I talked about Johnny Somali, and he ends up how he's disrespecting the Comfort Women statue, or statues, which, if you know your history or if you don't, let me remind you, during the Japanese occupation of Korea, it ends up that the Japanese took women and forced them into prostitution for the Japanese soldiers at the time. And it has been an ongoing thing. It's a point of contention between Korea and Japan, and just trying to get some closure on that is a very sore spot for many Koreans and of course for many Japanese as well, who see that as being absolutely and morally wrong. So in these statues that were presented, Johnny Somali goes up and he's twerking on them, he's kissing them, he tries to take a finger, he pretends to be fingering the statue or the woman of the statue. Just reprehensible stuff. He strips down, he puts oil on himself, and he rubs himself up against these statues. It is totally despicable. And he's done a number of other things too. He had some problems on the subway, or it was the subway or city buses or whatever. He had problems with that, and sexual assault, and threats and name calling and so on and so forth. And he really is pushing the envelope. He actually got in trouble. We talked about that. we showed the video of him in a convenience store where he's drinking alcohol, and then the shop owner comes and hey, you're not supposed to do that, and then he's pouring the ramen all over the table, he's throwing noodles at people and the whole 9 yards, and he flexes cursing out the staff in the convenience store. And there was another incident where he was at a pizza place and assaulted people. This guy is just a scourge of society. So anyway, but I found this video from 15 Minutes of Shame, and it's just insane what Johnny Somali says. So what we're going to end up doing is we're going to take a listen to some of this stuff. So with that being said, here we go. Listen to what Johnny says.
I'm a 5'4" malnourished Ethiopian. I think maybe I was just born to be evil. I don't know. I don't like being good. I don't want to be. If I make content, I don't know. I like to make content that makes people violent. I hate Asians. I think all Asians need to be exterminated. Somebody, please put this on the news tomorrow.
Yeah, that's from his own mouth. He wants to exterminate all Asians. Which probably, if you're in a country of all Asians, like Korea, Japan, he left Japan because he was banned. And we'll get to how ironic this is. This is so stupid. This guy's brain cells are not kicking on all four. So he wants all the Asians exterminated. He feels that as an Ethiopian, there's no good in him. He's evil. He loves producing content that produces violence and encourages others to do violence. And how is this acceptable for YouTube or Rumble or any streaming service whatsoever? Why are they allowing him to do this? It is just absolutely insane. If we continue on, he goes on and we hear some more interesting things from the man himself, or the coward himself, Johnny Somali.
If this is recorded, I hope the news puts this on the news. I want to start a race war. And I think I'm slowly, with every country I go and radicalize, I'm starting a race war. And for all you right-wing people that don't want immigrants to come to countries or not immigrants, the right wing should be promoting me and using me as an example.
There's been a fat bastard in a car driving around for 4 or 5 days without sleep, 12 hours a day, searching for me in Seoul. I think people in America have more lives than this.
So yeah.
Yeah, it is absolutely insane to think that the right or conservative people would embrace Johnny Somali for wanting to exterminate all Asians. That kind of falls in the realm of what the Nazis did, and they wanted to destroy entire races of people. It is absolutely insane. So, his belief system of thinking he gets to arbitrate and think, well, I'm going to start a race war, and that's his whole thing. That was his purpose of going around to all these countries, besides making money off of instilling and instigating violence, is to promote a race war, which is in his mind. So in other words, he wants to spread terror and fear mongering. I would classify him as a terrorist. He says there's no good in him, that he is evil. He loves producing violent content and urging others. But the fact that he wants to start, that's his thing, is to do a race war, is absolutely insane. I mean, it's incredibly stupid on what we end up seeing. If we continue on and we talk about this was Asian Dawn. Travel ban has imposed to stop Somali from leaving South Korea while an investigation continues. He is facing a litany of charges from assault, disturbing the peace, to illicit drug use, and obstruction of business. The maximum prison sentence for illegal drug use is 10 years, just for that. So, but it gets better, okay? It's not better that he did these things, but it's better that he actually got arrested, and Korea is holding him, and hopefully they'll hold his feet to the fire and they will put him in his place, because the stuff that he has done, that he has recorded himself doing, and then saying, oh, I didn't do anything wrong. There's videos of him talking to the police. I didn't do anything wrong. You live streamed everything, and it's all on video. You've got to be the stupidest person in existence. I just don't get it. This guy's elevator doesn't go all the way to the top. And if we continue on in this, it says the Mapo police reportedly built a case against Johnny Somali on suspicion of interference with a business. His passport has been confiscated and he is banned from leaving Korea. And this is Article 314, interference with business, not more than 5 years or a fine not exceeding 15 million won. Now, for those of you who don't know, let me do a little calculation here. For 15 million won, and divide that by the exchange rate, about 13.25-ish, you're talking about $11,000. But that's how he gets his money, by doing these stupid videos. But the fact that the underlying current and the reason that he is doing these things is to start a race war, and that he wants all Asians should be exterminated, it's just interesting on how this pans out. Now, here is another thing that we ended up seeing, and supposedly this is according to Johnny himself, and this was posted by that 15 Minutes of Shame, national security law, which is a truce praised by its enemies. So he praised North Korea, and he also praises Japan for what they did to the Koreans. The Anti-Terrorism Act, due to this incident, he showed an act of plotting terrorism against Korea through YouTube Live and X Space. Business obstruction. He was sued by the owner of a convenience store in Korea because the mess he made in destroying the store and throwing the convenience store in the convenience store. He threw ramen, threatened staff, the whole. It doesn't matter if nobody got hurt. He did it, and he recorded himself doing it. So once it's on the internet, it's there forever. He committed a crime of deepfake images. He molested passerbys. He made numerous sex crime remarks on YouTube Live, notwithstanding the disgusting things he did to the peace statues for the Korean comfort women that had to go through those atrocities. Crime of insult. He made remarks that insulted countless people and insulted the country itself. Defamation charge. He defamed countless people. And again, all of this stuff is online. He recorded every single. It's like for somebody. Yeah, I'm going to do all these bad things, and I'm going to record myself doing them, and then I'm going to claim I'm the victim, and it wasn't me, but it's you recorded it all. Charges of assault is being invested by the Korean police. He was in a couple of altercations with Korean YouTubers or streamers, and where it ends up it's insane, you know. Now, how the crime of assault here is in Korea, it's, kind of like, two drunk guys, as long if nobody charges the other, then it's okay. But the problem is this has escalated to a point of where, the Korean police and government might investigate this and they might charge him with the assault, even though the other person didn't charge. Now here's the big one, Narcotics Control Act. He was seen on YouTube Live inhaling what is believed to be a drug. Also, punishment is hard to avoid by saying that they used the marijuana in the United States. It doesn't matter where it was inhaled, the drug is in Korea. And if it's a crime that if you test positive in Korea, it doesn't matter that you took the drug when you were overseas in the United States or some other country. You came to Korea and you pop a pot. That could be 10 years automatically right there. Then there's the Misdemeanor Penalty Act, which, including behavior on the subway, loud noise at night, filming without consent. Disturbing the peace is basically what it comes down to. So there's a number of those where, again, he recorded himself saying and doing these things, breaking the law, hurling insults and threats to people, all on video. So he's got to be the stupidest MFer around. And down at the bottom, it talks about how he's American, and it's like, you know what? I'm an American too, living in Korea, but you must abide by the laws of the country that you're in. And it's really, really interesting as they're continuing to, take a look at what he's doing and investigating him even further when it comes to all these things. But if you're looking at the narcotics, you're looking at 10 years if he pops a pot for narcotics, another 5 years for the business obstruction. So that could be 15 years. It's 5 years max or $11,000 fine. But then you have the other crimes, which I haven't had time to look up and see what those are. But when you record yourself doing all these things, it is insanely stupid. Now, we have to remember that Johnny Somali, he was in Japan and he did pretty much the same things, instigating violence and threats and all of those things. And Japan kicked him. He actually got arrested. I think he spent 3 months in jail in Japan, and then they kicked him out and they banned him for 5 years from the country. And now Johnny is saying, oh, I love the Japanese, and I did the job that the Japanese prime minister, I defeated the Koreans when you couldn't. And he thinks that Japan is going to hold open their arms and accept him back into Japan when he leaves Korea. Johnny, didn't you just say you wanted all Asians exterminated? How do you think that's going to go? Yeah, it's probably, like I said, this guy's elevator doesn't go to the top. He's not firing on all fours. It's this guy, the lights are on and nobody's home, but there's something clicking around up there, and he wants to instigate race war and violence. He himself says that he is evil and incapable of good. I don't wish bad things for people, but you know what? Karma is, you get on the wrong side of karma, and karma's going to bite you in the butt. And I hope that she bites down on him hard, because this could be what he needs. I take that back. It's not what he needs. He needs to be accountable for his actions. But I don't think he's going to change. Even if he does 10 years in prison in Korea, which would not be good. Could you imagine you tell that you don't like Koreans, you think that all Asians should be exterminated, and you go to a Korean prison full of Asians? How well do you think your life is going to fare with your skinny little Ethiopian butt in a Korean prison, where now the Korean prison guards, oh, guess what? They just happen to be Asian as well. He is not thinking at all. And honestly, I hope Korea presses him. I hope they charge him. I hope they find him guilty. They get more than enough evidence for sure. But I really hope Korean government takes the time to charge him, and he's obviously guilty, and they put him in prison. It's a shame that the Korean taxpayers, and I'm paying taxes here in Korea, it's a shame that our money will have to go to support somebody like that in prison here in Korea. But somebody needs to take a stand against this guy. And the fact that YouTube allows this type of behavior from somebody who is advocating race wars and the destruction and the extermination of all Asians. Come on, YouTube. Seriously? Really? How is this even a discussion? Now, there's some other interesting information that we found out about Johnny Somali, is that he had a YouTube page. And then while all of this was going on, suddenly his page, there was porn uploaded on his page, and his main page got deleted. Now, he does have a backup page, but then he still has his Rumble and whatever streaming that he's doing, and he makes statements that are just absolutely insane.
I hate Asians. I think all Asians need to be exterminated.
It is absolutely insane on what he ends up saying. And let me see if I can find the part. Oh yeah, here.
I'm really hoping the Japanese don't let me come back.
So I wasn't going to make you.
Oh, this guy is monumentally stupid. So he calls for the extermination of all Asians. He insults Japan and Japanese while he was there, basically doing the same thing that he's done here in Korea and in other countries where he's been arrested as well. He has multiple arrests. And now that he's in trouble here in Korea, all of a sudden he's like, oh, I hope they accept me back because I'm going to throw some stuff out and kind of like, oh, I defeated the Koreans for you, Japanese prime minister, when you couldn't, so hopefully they'll have their arms wide open and they'll accept me back. You're a special kind of stupid, Johnny Somali. You know what? And the thing is, it's like, I've worked in prisons. I spent 11 years in prisons, working in prisons in medium R, and even did some time and work in high security, the max in Colorado for the state of Colorado. Did some work in the max prison there, the CSP. Thank God that wasn't my full-time job because that was horrendous. But I cannot imagine somebody like him in a prison. In a hardcore prison. We're not talking the Hollywood prison and, with the tennis courts and all that. I'm talking a real prison. But when you alienate entire countries and races of people and you're facing charges and being investigated, and if you go to prison in an Asian country, boy doesn't know what 1 + 1 is. And yeah, he better not bend over for the soap, because it's not going to matter. They're going to bend him over hard, fast, and continuously. At least, that would be the thing. And it's interesting because there's justice in society, but then there's prison justice as well. I've seen examples of this where the inmates will take and extract their revenge and their system of justice on people who have done wrong. I've seen people who are pedophiles who were in prison that got found out that they were pedophiles against toddlers, and the other inmates that were in there, it's kind of like, murder, rape, all that stuff, grand theft auto, blah, drug use, distribution of drugs, there's kind of this hierarchy. But when you get to pedophiles and child molesters and stuff like that, unfortunately, the other inmates don't like that very much. What's going to happen when Johnny Somali goes to prison when he has alienated himself against everybody in the prison, including the guards, all the staff, because all of them are going to be Asian? Yeah, his skinny little butt is not going to go well. And it's just, 10 years is just not enough. And the whole thing about prison is to rehabilitate people. Make them accountable for their actions, have them see the light, come to Jesus, whatever it is, but change their attitude and beliefs and saying, yeah, what I ended up doing, yeah, that was wrong. And I have seen murderers, I have seen rapists, I have seen drug dealers and gangbangers who have been in prison, and some of them were never, ever getting out, come to the realization and be accountable and say, you know what I did was absolutely wrong and it was reprehensible. I don't think Johnny Somali's going to understand that, and I don't think he will ever do that, because I've spent enough of time in prison, and by watching the disgusting material that he has and looking into his psyche and spending 11 years working in prisons, he's the guy that doesn't change. He's the guy that is stuck on stupid. And yeah, there was actually bounties put out on Johnny Somali here in Korea. So, it was like 1 million won, 2 million won. We got to, anybody who leads to the location of Johnny Somali, we have a bounty on it. And so Koreans were really, really pissed at him. And yeah, he got in a couple scuffles and things like that. But it's interesting because as soon as the tables are turned, then he cries, I'm the victim. Oh, it wasn't me. I'm the victim, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, you know what? By your actions and by saying that you want a race war and you think all Asians should be exterminated, you brought that on yourself. Karma's going to flip that lid and going to bounce on your dome a little bit there. So, yeah, I don't wish ill will on people, but I do wish that people are accountable. And, you might say, oh, well, Steve, you're a Christian. Don't you believe in forgiveness? Absolutely. But it doesn't excuse you from the consequences of the things that you did. Now that's very interesting as well, because I also did a few years of prison ministry after I quit working in the prison. And yeah, you can be a believer and you can work with people who are inmates, but it doesn't, and just because they're forgiven doesn't mean like, oh, well, he accepted Jesus, so now he needs to get out of prison. No, you did the crime, you got to do the time. It's just now that you have, you saw the error of your ways, that's great, but you still got to do your time. Isn't it interesting that Jesus talked about, and he says, obey the laws of the land, and if you disobey the laws of the land, you got to deal with the consequences. Just because somebody finds Jesus doesn't mean that they should get out of prison or that their sentence should be commuted because they found God or Allah or whatever else, whatever other gods that are out there. So yeah, it's just absolutely insane. It doesn't matter if they're Buddhist or whatever. If you find some enlightenment, you're not excused for the actions that you did and those things that brought you to prison. Yeah, that's just not how it works. So there has to be some accountability, but Johnny Somali is definitely one of those people that I see that I would put money on it, that he will not have a heartful change in any way, shape, or form. I think he'll tap dance. I think he'll do the thing, oh, I'm sorry, blah, blah, blah. He'll wring his hands and whatever, oh, apology. But then he'll go right back around and do the exact same thing in some other country. But the more disturbing thing is like Rumble and YouTube that allow him to continue to have a channel. Now, Johnny Somali has a backup channel, and YouTube, still up and running. Rumble, he does his stream on Rumble and some other thing. Totally okay, but insane. But I guarantee you that if whoever owns YouTube and this guy, what he did to other women and sexual assaults, grabbing them, threatening them, the whole 9 yards, inappropriate comments, if that happened to the owner's daughter, yeah, his channel would be down in a heartbeat. So I'm not really understanding why YouTube and Rumble are allowing this to continue, especially now from Johnny himself that he is a race war advocate. He says that he's evil, and I hope they nail him big time. And I hope he does his 10 years. I hope he does his 15 years. I hope he gets the max sentencing for every single crime that he committed. And especially, the narcotics is going to be a big one. So, yeah. And that do I think that would change Johnny Somali? Do you think he would become accountable and open up and see the light and all the things that he did wrong and truly apologize from the heart? No, I don't. Like I said, I worked in prisons for 11 years, and he is the same type of guy that will never change. But we'll see what happens. So anyway, what do you think should happen to Johnny Somali? What do you think of people who want to instigate a race war? And that's his deep belief that he thinks, oh, there's a race war and he's like some champion of this, and that for some reason he should be congratulated for wanting to instigate a race war. I mean, it's 2024. This guy's elevator is not going to the top. And why he's being allowed to continue this. And then he also has a number of people that travel with him that obviously have the same mindset and think that that is okay. Oh, you want a race war? You think Asians, all of them should be exterminated? Yo, that's my homeboy, Johnny. Birds of a feather flock together. So, and it's interesting because some of the people that traveled with Johnny fled Korea and they left because there was no charges against him. So yeah, they left him high and dry, and that's what happens when you do stupid things. And could it be found out that some of those other people are going to get charges or be considered as accomplices in the crimes that Johnny committed? Could they be extradited back to Korea? Depends on how hard you push this. In a recent video, it ends up that Johnny ends up saying that the comfort women Let me see if I can find it. Oh, this is just absolutely insane. Let me see if I can find it here.
Disrespect towards the Korean women.
And don't let the media fool you. This is the real, this is really what the Korean comfort women were. I trust the Japanese more than y'all. If you look into the documentation, if you really want to talk about the comfort women, the Korean comfort women were prostitutes that were used by the American soldiers. They were used by, you know what I mean? They were legally paid. Honestly, I think the Japanese soldiers were paid 7 yen a month, and the comfort women were paid 300, 400 yen a month. If you go back in time, and that's enough to buy a house, if you do it for inflation. So these bitches were rich. These were some of the richest in Korea. If we being honest, like, you know what? I'm trying to come back to Japan. You know, I'm banned from Japan for 5 years. So hopefully, me doing this, now the Japanese embassy, they gonna let me come back. You know what I mean? I'm hoping if I do this, I'm really hoping the Japanese gonna let me come back. I swear to God, man, I love Japan.
So apparently,
Yeah, like I said, Johnny is... Who dresses him every day? I don't get it. And how can somebody with this least amount of brain cells and common sense believe in the stuff that he says, wants to exterminate all Asians, but yet now he wants Japan to open up their arms because, I talk bad about Koreans. And then the fact about the comfort women, he confuses the timeline. The Korean comfort women were women who were captured. They were forced into prostitution. They were not rich by any means. And when you actually look at the real history of what happened to the comfort women, it is severely disturbing. Nobody would want to go through that. It's absolutely insane on his warped view of what these things are. And again, it's just absolutely crazy on what he ends up saying. And, it just amazes me that somebody like this is allowed to continue to make money on Rumble and YouTube, how countries all around the world have not seen what has happened with Johnny Somali in Israel, the United States, Japan, and now Korea, of putting a permanent ban on him from all the countries of the world. I mean, seriously, it would be a preemptive strike to protect the people of all the countries of the world to not allow this person to spread their race war rhetoric and violence. I think that's something that we should do a petition for. Somebody put that out there, and all the countries that around the world that see this guy, seeing what is happening in these countries, should let's just preemptively ban him from ever coming into our country because of his terrorist beliefs and because of his activism and what he wants. Is just amazing. The fact that somebody actually believes this BS is beyond me in 2024. I don't get it. It is absolutely insane. So anyway, what do you think should happen to Johnny Somali? Do you think he should serve the full prison time? I mean, if he gets, I think so. That's my 2 cents. Do you think other countries should ban Johnny Somali preemptively, so that way they don't have to put their citizens at risk for being sexually harassed, attacked, for destroying businesses and, assaulting people and sexual harassment, disturbing the peace and all these things? That's his thing. Why would you want to entertain anybody like that in your country? It's kind of like put it in this way, in a small type of example. Would you invite this person into your home? Hell no. There's no way. My door would be closed to him 100%, 24/7, 365. There's no way. And that's how I think countries should look at Johnny Somali, is that they should say, hey, we're going to close the door. We're not even going to open the door, allow you to come step 1 foot inside. And they should ban him for life. It's, you know, if they ban him for life, it's, you know, it's like, yeah, that makes sense. I totally agree with that. I totally 100% agree with that. But again, he's not going to change his ways. You know, birds of a feather flock together, and the leopard can't change its spots. And the stupidity and racism of Johnny Somali will never change, no matter how many years he spends in prison or how many arrests he has. But yeah, I think there should be an uproar from everybody, every nationality, Asians, everybody should get to YouTube, complain about this guy and on Rumble and say, hey, this guy needs to be canceled because this is totally unacceptable. I don't know. We'll see what happens. So anyway, that's what we got going on. I'm Steve, the retired hobby tech guy who is retired here in Korea. And yeah, I just wanted to give you an update on what's going on. He has been arrested. They were doing the investigation and looking further into the mind of this wackadoo. It doesn't look good, especially when you record yourself doing the crimes. He's a special type of stupid. All right, we'll see you on the next video. Peace.